Hey, this is Gerd Handel, and welcome to the Inner Light Project. This show is for anyone who's wanting to lead a happier, healthier, and enlightened life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can shine your inner light. Hello and welcome to the Inner Light Project. My name is Gerd Handel, and today I'm just so grateful to share with you someone who is helping women to reconnect to their inner calm and life balance. Ulrika Sullivan is a certified life coach, yoga teacher and energy healer, and she helps women through her intuitive coaching, spiritual practices, astrology and human design. Hi Ulrika, I'm so grateful to have you in the show and thank you for being part of this space today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to share with you in this podcast episode.
Oh, bless you. I just know this is going to be an amazing episode because there's so many similarities and yeah, there is so much we can talk about. And I'd love to ask you the question of what was your life like before you became a coach?
So a few years ago, I made a complete shift from being a career mom and I'm a scientist by training, and I've spent about 20 years plus within the pharmaceutical research and development industry. And yeah, so I started out as a scientist and put myself on the path of really successful career. I had a young family at the time, and everything that you can imagine I had, recognition, a young family, as I said, but I found myself really not connected with myself. I usually, when I tell my story, I bring up this very vivid memory I have. Someone asked me, "Hey, Ulrika, what do you do for fun?" It was in a casual conversation at a business conference or meeting, what it was. And I had no answer. I could not come up with what I do for fun. And that really hit me hard because here I was very successful and fulfilled, I thought, but I was on autopilot. I was very focused at my work. I pretty much identified myself with my work. That was my identity. And when I wasn't at work, I was home being a mom. So that was another important role in my life, obviously. But apart from work and family, there was no me. So that really brought me to my insights and shifts that I made later on. But my life was very much on autopilot. And if anyone who's listening to this can imagine, every day almost looks the same. You have the same things going on week after week, very focused on everything external, but never really having a time to connect to yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting you saying that because I completely relate with what you're saying, because I remember when I was in the journalism world, it got to a point I was so unhappy in my career that I was running to work with toast in my mouth, shoes in my hands, always being late for work because it didn't satisfy me anymore. And I'd done so much in my career at that time, but there was this void, like you said, there was something missing, this connection to myself. And what I realized later on in life is that we have so much knowledge about our career paths, but we have no knowledge of self.
That's right. Yes. So I really felt that there is something missing here. There is really something missing. And for me, I believe it was meant to be, because I would be in this bubble of disconnection, if you will, for a while, because that's what it took for me to really wake up. Yeah.
Wow. And would you say that, because obviously with the similar background with the pharmaceutical world, whenever you had a headache or you had an ache or pain, you would just go for the medication, you wouldn't really question why you were feeling that way or what was the reason behind it.
Absolutely. And for me, I had this ability to just keep going. I had this and still have. I have to watch that for myself, because if I get really focused on something, I ignore all, body signs, or I just kind of bring myself to the next level in terms of just following through. And that's now what I realize, that's not how we can step into our biggest purpose or potential, because that is really the opposite. We have to step into and listen to our body, our inner world, to really bring out our biggest potential or greatest potential in every moment. And and I realize now in hindsight, of course, I was totally disconnected from my inner power.
Yeah. And I think as women as well, there's this persona that like from our parents had, especially our mothers, that it's about being strong and toughening up in a man's world and being more masculine and ignoring your femininity, and you just kind of roll your sleeves up and get on with it. And I think a lot of us have grown up with that mentality. So whenever we had an ache or pain, we just thought, oh, there's nothing, just ignore it. And then it's only till like something happens, like even with me, I collapsed in the office 3 times. I ended up having a kidney problem later on in my life because I was overworking as well. To make me realize, like what you just said, is that there's nothing wrong with being strong, but also soft. There's nothing wrong with being connected and calm and relaxed and also doing work, but there has to be a balance of both.
Yes, it's definitely this shift of, the mentality that many of us were conditioned to align with, that we can push through every challenge. And that shift of not pushing through every challenge, but actually listen to what the opportunity is, and be more selective, have boundaries around it, and we can be even more effective that way than just kind of plowing through.
Yeah. 100%. I want to take it back a little bit. So, this person said to you that, what do you do for fun? And you kind of didn't know what to answer. So what happened after that?
So, that left me with some kind of question mark within myself. It took a while before I really came to a point where I was starting to find out, like, who am I? But I think that point that really made me think, or at least it gave me a little seed to start to asking myself those questions. What am I doing for fun? And of course, we all, before we became this career woman and busy mom, right? We had a life also in our younger years. So what I did, I started to connect to what I was really good at or enjoyed doing in my younger years as a teenager, or even earlier than that. And that type of energy is still within us, even if we're disconnected from it. It's within us. So I think that really, for me, started to, at least at that time, being a little seed that was growing. And it was not until really my big turning point, which brought me really to my knees, where I was laid off from my job. And if you can picture this, me as a person back then was really, married to my job. that was me. So to be hit by a loss in that sense, which, I saw it as, it was really to lose myself at the same time.
Yeah, I relate with that 100%, because that was kind of my turning point in 2012, where I had built up this career and then I was made redundant. But I knew I wasn't happy. I was actually planning on leaving, but you know how the universe works. It all happened a few months beforehand. And I just remember like my boss saying to me, what are you going to do next? And I was like, I'll find a way. And he's like, what's your plan? I was like, I don't know. I'll find a way. And he looked at me like very confused, like, you need to have a plan. Like, what's wrong with you kind of thing. But, I knew in that moment something was going to happen. And I remember going back home to the apartment that I shared with two flatmates. And I just remember sliding up and down the hallway going, I'm free, and jumping up and down on my bed. And they were like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I've just lost my job. And they were like, oh, that's really sad. I was like, no, I'm really happy. I just remember it sometimes it does, doesn't it? It takes to get made redundant or lose a job to really discover who you really are and come back home to yourself.
Yes, and I saw it, maybe not then, but now in hindsight, I saw that was really the universe telling me, okay, this is it. You need to get away from this environment and a new chapter is going to start for you. But because by myself, I was not able to change my situation proactively. But often that's what happens when we reach a rock bottom, is that the universe has given us so many signs, likely, that we have ignored for the longest, and sometimes we just need to be removed from the situation. And that's what happened to me. I being a very ambitious and stubborn person, who can literally push through anything if I wanted to. And so obviously it took the universe to kind of remove me from a situation to open up a new chapter. And in that moment, as you are describing too, it's a choice, right? Do we see it as an opportunity, or do we see it as a defeat? And it, for me, in that situation, it was an opportunity. It turned out to be the best thing that ever happened.
Beautiful. And what did you do next after that? So you had this awakening, and like you were told you lost your job. What happened after that?
So it was a gradual process for me. So in the beginning, I was devastated, obviously, and I reached for the simplest path. So I actually went back to another job in the same industry after that.
Wow.
But which was a great job and so on. But then a gradual feeling grew within me that gave me an opportunity to actually do it differently. I created this path to actually make a conscious shift in my life to the career I'm doing now. So it was like a two-step process, if you will. Yeah. Now, this awakening of being laid off really stirred the inner chaos within me to make something different. However, I wasn't ready at the time to be a complete shift at that time. It took another couple of years before I realized this is my calling, which I'm doing now. So it was kind of a bridge, that job after this awakening happened, if you will. It was a bridge job, I call it now. But it actually enabled me to not only make a conscious choice, because what happened was that I could tell the employer I had at the time that I have decided to make a shift, and that's why I'm resigning or leaving this job now. So that was a complete different experience than, being removed by the universe and taking it as a shock, to, in this next job, being the empowered person, making a decision to make a shift. So that was a completely different energy for me. And so it really, yeah.
I was going to say, I think it might be the Taurus moon, because I read on your website that you have a Taurus moon, and I have a Taurus moon as well.
Taurus moons are great.
Yeah. And I think it's that, like you said, it's that stubbornness, because even with me, I kind of took another year. I was freelancing for other places for a year. And then I had that leap, like you said, and it was like, I'm still holding on to the old identity of being a journalist. Like, I need to hold on to that. But really, we were so much more than those careers than what we realized.
Absolutely. Yes. And as a Taurus moon, our inner world, we kind of need to take it step by step, not any, big shifts, but think it through and actually do it. Yeah. So that's what happened for me. And now I definitely feel that I'm in a position of empowerment rather than being somebody that something happens to.
Nice. And I was going to say, like, even with like the 9 to 5 world, it's so interesting, like how the mindset is so different. It's like fear and this worry about your job and what are you going to do next. It's that kind of energy. But when you have your own business, it's just so much joy, and like you said, the inner child comes out. You're just free to make the decisions by yourself without being restricted, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, it was new for me as well. If you imagine like being employed for 20 plus years, I've never had a business before. So the learning curve and also the opportunities that learning provides in terms of really tapping into, what do I want? How do I want to live my week or month or year, right? It's those types of questions that come up. Am I happy with my day, how I lay it out, or what happens during a day or week? So as an employed person, it's often presented to you. You get the meetings into your calendar, you sit down and you have your back-to-back meetings, right?
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I remember I was so conditioned to, oh, my schedule have to be full. And those things where you kind of just are used to a certain pace.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a gradual shift from also learning about how I want to spend my day, because that question had never come up before. It was, pretty much presented to me, as I said, as an employed person, but now like I can decide how I want to spend my day, and that's freedom in that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was interesting you're saying about the back-to-back meetings. If you think about it, there's no room for mindfulness there. You're literally just like another person in a rat race, and you don't really have time to reflect about what has happened in the day only till you've left your job. But even then, you're too busy rushing home to then sort something else out.
Yeah. Yes, and it's a different energy.
Yeah.
I'm also an energy healer, and I've learned so much about how energy works. And in hindsight, I can definitely see, the corporate years, if you will, was completely driven by the mind.
Yeah.
While now I'm completely living my life through the heart energy, which is more, intuitive in that sense, and responsive, more around being in the moment. But the mind, the mind would always want to be in the future, and I can definitely feel the difference now in terms of how I spend my day working, being very efficient and but still using a different energy within my day. So that's a complete shift.
I hear you, and I feel like we actually get more done now than we did before.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you just one more question about like the medicinal world, like, well, the pharmaceutical world. Like, what's your viewpoint now on like taking a step back, the pharmaceutical world versus the holistic side?
Well, I feel that the pharmaceutical world does have its place, but there is so much more to add to the picture. And I really believe that a holistic world includes all parts. But for a very long time, we have, as a collective, if you will, relied on pharmaceuticals as the only solution.
Yeah.
At least that's how I feel. But now the what we call alternative healing modalities are becoming much more known, or is returning to becoming valuable. And I love that, because there's a time and place for pharmaceuticals, but there's also a time and place for more natural healing modalities that are using natural energy. And just by tapping into a natural energy flow, for example, and listening to our body can actually solve a lot of problems much more naturally than reaching for the pill on the shelf, right? So I this great opportunity to starting to embrace alternative. I don't really like the word alternative, because I want to see the balance. I want to see the additional modalities increase in importance and prominence.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I think alternative, it shouldn't even be that, because these healing modalities have been here for centuries. So it's not really alternative. Really, the pharmaceutical
Right.
isn't alternative because it came
Mhm.
later.
Yeah, let's switch it.
It's so bizarre. I find it so weird. But I 100% relate. Like I remember the amount of like customers that would come in for headache tablets, and sometimes some people would come in for the same thing every weekend, and I used to think, gosh, why? But a lot of people, they've become so dependent on wanting a quick fix, and that's what I feel with medications. They're good to a certain extent, but you really do need to get to the root cause of why you're feeling that way. And I think that's where the holistic side works, because instead of taking something quickly, it's about asking yourself, why am I feeling that way, or what do I need right now? And I think that's the key.
Absolutely. And often it's not something external that is the answer. It is really an internal journey on how to come to terms with the root cause of the illness or the condition. Yeah, and that can only be solved in many places and times by the person itself. But I truly believe that there's, as I said in the beginning of this conversation, that it's we have to look at the whole and not just kind of be go down one route that seems to be having the solution. And in addition, not always rely on what other people are telling us is the right thing, because the only person that knows ourselves is ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And I know I keep saying I agree, but it's really true. Like I really understand that, because I don't know if you know this about me, Ulrika, but I had a kidney operation a few years back, and before the operation, many consultants were telling me to have the kidney removed, but my intuition was like, no, I need that kidney. Mm-hmm. And I fought with them for about a year, and then I found the right consultant who reconstructed my kidney, and we saved it. And I think that's the key, always trusting your gut. And the same thing happened with a tonsil a few years ago. My tonsil was inflamed, and the consultant was like, we can remove it. And I said, just give me 6 months and let me see what I can do. And I just tried something like apple cider vinegar every day for 6 months, and it went down, and he classed it as a miracle. And had I listened, I would have had my tonsil removed and my kidney removed. But we need certain organs for a reason, and my gut was always telling me that. And I think that's the key, to remember that the medicinal side have their purpose, and it's good to get, they help us to diagnose things, but also trust your gut as well, because sometimes they do get it wrong. They're not always 100% correct, but sometimes they are right.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the key right there, that it's for us to slow down enough to listen to that voice and trust it. That's part of what we all are working on, right? Yeah, because it works in other situations too, not just with our health. It works the same type of dynamic works in finding out, is this relationship right for me? Is this any other area of life can be an answer to if we just slow down and listen. And that's the practice that is pretty much the foundation of knowing who we are.
Yeah. So you help women to find their inner balance. How do you do that?
So and as I said in the beginning, the work that I do now, this is my life's work. I feel that this is such an important time where we have the opportunity, and we've been presented with the opportunity the past year and a half here now, to come into those questions like, who am I? What do I love to do? What makes me feel good? And how do I want to live my life? Not only per day, but also my week, my month, my years, right?
Yeah.
And what I find with women that I work with, mostly women, is that there's an imbalance in their life, in some area of life, because again, the holistic view of maybe they're overworking, or maybe
Mm.
they're too entangled in relationships that really hinder them to bring out that inner unique expression or authenticity. So often what I find is that there is a balance within their life in some way. In addition, I also work with their body in terms of body energy. I'm also an energy healer. So I combine kind of, it's not always only the inner journey or inner environment, if you will, that's imbalanced in some way. Our thoughts, it actually is also our physical energy,
Yeah.
our aura. So I take a holistic view of all of that, and sometimes it has to do with, let's say, nutrition, what we eat. Sometimes it becomes evident that there is an imbalance in their diet, or yeah, we can go on and on. But what I do is to really work with someone what they want to begin with. What is it that they really are missing in life, and help them to dream. Because
Mm.
until we start to believe in what's possible for ourselves, we only will stay with that thought.
Mm.
But once we start to believe and see in our life in real terms, taking realistic steps, that things can happen for us, then it all goes, it just blooms from there. So not only I help others to, with the ability to dream, tap into their intuition, because that's a lot of what it is, that we've been relying so much about our mental abilities, that we have disconnected from our inner truth, our inner true self, higher self, or whatever we want to call it. But that's part of what I work with women to regain that ability, or connect with that inner true self, our intuition. Everyone has it. So it's nothing that is just for some.
Yeah.
And with that comes the ability to actually assess what what do I love? Where are my imbalances? Because that insight needs to be kind of realized by each single person. I'm not the one telling them that, here's your solution. They come up with it, and they know what the solution for them is when they say, oh, I want to work less and I want to spend my time this way.
Mm.
And then together we make realistic steps towards that, to balance their life, make it become real, so that it doesn't stay as a thought only. And it's a very complex kind of way, it sounds like, but it truly is not complex. It really starts with the willingness to make a change to someone's life. And that's all it takes, the willingness to start looking at, why is it like this in my life? And do I like it? No. Do I want to change it? Yes. So, yeah, does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I understand what you're saying, and it's really just coming back home to your inner GPS, I call it. And
Mhm.
we've given our power as women for so long to society, that we sometimes seek validation from, like, whether it's our work life or our relationships or just our nearest and dearest. But like you said, when you own your power, your truth, your inner voice, that's when everything flourishes. That's when you really go deep into your inner wisdom, and you don't really, like, you no longer need to rely on anybody or their opinions. You kind of know what's right for you.
Absolutely. And that really, once that starts to happen for someone, it becomes a different perception of what's possible. And then the sky is the limit after that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really important work for those who feel, yeah, I want to make a change, and I believe that I want to make a change too, because sometimes it's more of a wish rather than a belief, and that's we all walk that path of, oh, I wish it was so and so, to I'm making progress. I'm actually taking this into my real life. So there is a little bit of a different, and that takes different support and partnership. And that's what I do as a coach, is to really partner with each individual at where they're at. So there's no, you have to be here when you're done with my program or whatever. It really is not, because every single person has their own path. And for me, it's really important to be there as a guide, a partner, more so than having all the answers.
Yeah. I think the key for people to remember is that nobody knows the answers, but we sometimes need partnerships to help us, like coaches, to help us just guide us through the next stages. But it's not about them telling you what to do. It's just helping you to just break down not really sure what happened there. We've had a bit of a technical glitch, but we will be doing a part 2 soon. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this quote. Allow nature's peace to flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. That's a quote by John Muir. Take care, my sisters. Bye. For more information about the show or how to trust your inner light, visit my new coaching program at gerdshandel.com. And remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay lit.